Hey, welcome to podcast 234.
2 generations, 3 topics, and 4 beers. I'm Chaz.
I'm Dwayne. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us this week. Our topics this week are marijuana
Children's sports.
and musical media throughout history, man.
Oh, wow, man. This is going to be a good one.
All right, our beers tonight. Tonight, actually, we're broadcasting outside, so if you hear some of the wonderful sounds of nature.
And the bug zapper.
Oh, yeah, the bug zapper. That's what it is, but we're broadcasting outside. Chaz, what do you have on tap for us tonight?
So today, to go with the first topic of marijuana, we got a classic American IPA called Freak State from Brewdog. It's a plethora of dank and citrus aromas, pine needles, tree sap, lime peel, and nectarine, supported by a grassy and floral notes. Meanwhile, a grain bill incorporating black malt, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's an ink black IPA.
Wow, sounds great.
I know, I'm excited. I haven't had this yet. I've heard a lot of good things about it, though.
And then the second beer tonight we're having is a...
We went to Lagunitas again.
Yeah, and we got the straight up Lagunitas IPA.
And I've had this a few times. It's really good.
Yeah,
This is one of my favorite IPAs.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So let's pop open some Freak State and get this on.
Let's get freaky.
Oh, by the way, this is draft right from Brewdog.
Yeah.
In the growler, so that's why you don't hear anything going pop. We already done popped it. Boy, this is dark. Looks good.
Let's take a look here. I'm not a huge fan of dark beers, but I'm not a big fan of stouts, so I'm interested to try this IPA.
Hard to see at night. Cheers, my friend. Let's get
Cheers.
into it.
Okay, guys, so for our first topic, we have marijuana. So first things first, man, is that marijuana has recently had a huge boom. Okay, so in 1969, the legalization of marijuana was only supported by 12% of Americans. Now it's 64% of Americans. So that's it's getting a hot topic, and it is a generational topic.
But let me ask you something. All right. Before we get into all this happy discussion, what about Cheech and Chong, man?
Oh, wow, man.
That was my favorite. Those guys always talked about marijuana. And I was like, I don't know, 8 years old when I was introduced to Cheech and Chong. And it was like, dude. And it was Cheech and Chong's like albums. I think it was one called Big Bambino, or I don't even know. There's a couple of them, man. But it was hilarious because, I didn't even know what they were talking about. But, it was, as I grew older, I was like, wow, my siblings were listening to some crazy stuff. I was 10 years younger, so I got introduced to all that stuff early.
It always smelled really weird.
Yeah, they always smelled a little skunky. So you're right. So it has grown up or become more popular, I guess, however you want to say it.
And it has, and not to mention, marijuana itself has evolved quite a bit. From what I've read recently, and this, that, and the other, is that THC is the main proponent in marijuana that everyone looks for, right? That's what gives you the...
I don't know, Chaz. Fill me in.
Well, if you're a scientist like I am, it gives you... THC is what gives you the high, okay?
You had do you do clinical trials?
No, but so... back in the 70s, and I would say its initial height, it was hitting about 13 to 18% THC. I'm sorry. I think it was 6% THC then. Now, in normal marijuana, it's about 18% THC, roughly, on average.
So, it's a bigger buzz or something?
It's a bigger buzz, and not to mention, nowadays, they have new ways to cut it down and everything. So, basically, they have these new things called, dabs and this, that, and the other, in which you can take the THC off of the plant, and you melt it down into a wax substance.
Oh, okay. I've seen that. So, Not in real life, but I've seen pictures because it's on, I think it was on the Chive or something.
Yeah, and it breaks it down into 99% or something crazy, something just outrageously, gotcha. It refines it quite a bit. And that's actually if I'm not mistaken, they have done research on that, and that does cause real problems with the THC. Because in small amounts, the THC doesn't supposedly cause problems to your brain.
It's like anything else, you know what I mean? You want to huff paint? That's great, but if you want to huff paint a lot, that's not so good. I don't know. Maybe that's. I don't know.
That's what happened to you when you ate glue.
All things in moderation, right?
Right.
So, but interesting stat. more than half of U.S. adults, over 128 million, have tried marijuana, even though it's an illegal drug. That's kind of a crazy stat when you think about it. I mean, that over and above anything else anybody does illegal. I mean, think about the general population, 128 million. Half the population on a daily basis probably does not knowingly commit crimes, short of maybe speed limit crimes, but they'll smoke marijuana. That's kind of crazy when you think about that. You know what I mean?
And I think it's one of those things that this boils down to the decriminalization period. I mean, over the last few years, I mean, you can't argue, it has been decriminalized. It's slowly getting to the point where, I mean, how much do you have to have on you now before you can get over a misdemeanor?
I have no idea.
Anymore, it's like a $150 fine if you're caught with quite a bit of it on you.
But see, here's the cool, not the cool thing, but the funny thing. So, like, okay, so we've got states that have legalized it. California started with the medical, and I think, did California go recreational now or whatever? I don't know. They seem to start with medical.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the way to get it going. And then they become, the recreational gets approved. Well, what I think is interesting is what does that really do to the economy and what are the issues with that once you legalize it? You know what I mean?
Look, to anyone who has any doubts about it being legalized and it boosting the economy, is look at alcohol sales and how much that does for the economy.
No, true.
Look at how much the lottery does for the economy. Things like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like anything that is bad, quote unquote, everyone loves. It does great for the economy.
That's true.
It always is a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've actually worked at a I forget what it was called, but it was a warehouse or a distribution facility for liquor that supplied the liquor stores in all of Ohio. And actually, this one just served Central Ohio, and I could not believe the amount of alcohol they had in the warehouse. And he said, dude, we'll go through this in a couple of weeks. So it's amazing how much alcohol is pumped out. And, that's all taxed. And
here's my thing. It's the same with anything else. It's one of those things where I don't care if it gets legalized, but I don't want it to be a big government entity. Which I remember right, in Ohio, when it was my first election, I think I was allowed to vote in, it was whether or not it should be legal, and then it was also, what was the other? There was another issue where there are two issues tied together, and whether or not it should be a corporate thing or a government thing. Where, you know what I'm saying? Where it's, am I right or wrong? It was like issue 2 or something was like, if I remember right, it was something like it was like a government regulated thing, or if it was a.
Why can't you remember, man?
It's like on that episode of The Office where Dwight finds the joint in the parking lot. Remember?
No.
And then Jim walks in the office and says, "It's a memory loss drug, Dwight.
Right.
How much marijuana did you smoke?"
Yeah, how do you know? You had to know, Dwight.
That's awesome.
But no, I don't get what you're saying. You're saying that you just don't want it to be controlled by the government. What's going to be? I mean, in Ohio, I can tell you what they're doing right now with the medical marijuana. They're doing dispensaries, and that's going to be converted over to those are private entities. But they're very controlled by the government, obviously.
Absolutely, but you can still brew your own beer. So what's the difference between brewing your own beer and growing your own marijuana?
I don't know. Can you grow your own marijuana in these legalized states? I don't even know. Can you?
I have no idea, but I personally, the libertarian side of me says it doesn't matter.
But you can't make your own grain alcohol. You
Oh.
brew your own beer, but I don't believe it's legal to make
Grow your own hops?
Yeah, I can't do. I don't think you can do liquors, spirits.
Liquors.
I really don't think you can do this. I'll have to look that up, but I don't think you can do it legally. But it's interesting though that the whole medical marijuana thing. That's the way they bring it in, and then next thing you know, boom, you got recreational. That's right behind it. And that's what they're doing in Ohio right now. They got the medical. So I don't know.
Remember, they tried to knock it out all at once. Remember, they tried to do the medical and the recreational at one time. Remember, if I remember right, and it was kind of funny because that's what happens. I mean, that it was like kind of no BS. Like, let's just do it all at once.
Right.
Because I mean, that's what most of the states do. Is they say, "Oh, let's do medical. Like, it'll help these people," and that's what it is. It's just a gateway into getting into recreational, which I don't have a problem with personally, but that is what happens.
I think alcohol, I don't know. I'm not a marijuana guy, so I don't know. But I would think that alcohol would be more harmful than marijuana in the long run. But, when you look at all the things that are tied to alcohol, all the bad decisions that are made
Is it much
while
different than
drinking
marijuana? You know what I'm
alcohol.
saying? It's if anything, marijuana. I would almost say was, I mean, what? I mean, not that I've experienced what I'm saying from the stereotypes is, what is it? You sit on the couch and eat potato chips.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure you have a lot of ambition. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure 100% what the big. I don't
Yeah.
know the big thing behind it, and I don't know the big thing.
Right, but I also hear that like Colorado and those states are having issues with a lot of homeless people now, a lot more than they ever did. So is that because homeless people came to Colorado to smoke dope, or is it because they were living in Colorado, they started smoking dope, and now they're homeless? I mean, that is what I heard, and I mean, I'm sure I could find something on it, but there was, that's what the big stigma is that it causes people to not want to do anything but sit around and smoke marijuana. Is that true?
I mean, does alcohol cause people to just want to sit around and drink alcohol?
I don't know.
I mean, am I right or wrong? It's the same thing.
Certain people. I think it comes down to the.
I think it comes down to
certain
just the
people.
person at that point. I mean, I don't think anyone specifically. And it could be just because Colorado is one of the few states that does legalize it. You know what I'm saying? If we had it nationwide legalized, would it be an increased rate? Or, like you said, people just moving to Colorado?
Yeah.
Smoke dope,
so there was an 8% rise in homeless in Colorado, and there was speculation that whether legalized marijuana was the big deal. So I don't know that they've actually tied it to it. But basically, I think there was just a question about that. But the long story short is, look, people are going to do it. Tax it. My mind is tax it. Make some money off of it. Do something good with the money. And you know what? The people that are smoking marijuana when it's legal are likely the same people that are smoking marijuana when it's illegal. I went to Colorado. It's illegal in Vegas. It's legal in Washington. I was in all three of those cities in the past year. And you know what? I couldn't smoke it if I wanted to. I'm drug tested at work here in Ohio, and even if it is legalized in Ohio, I still can't smoke it because I'm drug tested, and it's still going to be an issue because it's not federally legalized.
Here's my big point on it. Is the crime thing. Is what situation are you putting? This is going to bring crime down across the board. Personally, this is what I think.
You think it's going to be crime down?
Yes, and hear me out. Is so you're not putting people in sketchy situations. It's no different than going to the liquor store. You're going to be in what's the reverse of that? Instead of going to the liquor store, you go to some dope dealer who's going to offer you, this, that, and the other, plus the marijuana. Not to mention young girls who are college students, whatever, going out to meet so-and-so ghetto dude that they found on, Craigslist to go pick up some marijuana, getting, drugged, getting sexually assaulted. You know what I'm saying?
Still,
so that's my thing.
Cartels and the guys with the drugs, even if it's legalized, can still sell it illegally at a lesser rate than the government's charging, and so I don't know that you're getting rid of that.
Well, how many bootleggers are there since Prohibition?
I know several.
But you see what I'm saying?
When it comes
you're
to
still going to
spirits,
have that, but you're still going to bring down. That's my personal opinion on it, is you're still going to bring down quite a bit. I think a lot of people would rather get it legally than illegally.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I don't know when it's all happening here. I think it's soon, the medical, if it's not already done here.
They already tried it here, so it's...
No, the medical's done.
Oh, yeah.
The medical's done.
Ohio Congress or whatever.
Yeah, it's done. I've seen
big old billboard on 33, that's right.
Yeah, so I know for a fact I've seen some stuff on it for work, so I know it's definitely legal, or it's already been passed. I just don't remember that. I think it might be, I thought it was April, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe April of next year. But yeah, it's going to be highly regulated. We'll see what happens here, and that'll be the medical thing. And then the next thing you need to do is
go visit Dr. Green.
Let's go get Dr. Green downtown. I'm sure there'll be a Dr. Green sign, just like, "Come on in. You look like you should. You look like your back hurts. You look like your back hurts. Come on in. Yeah, get you a subscription, or a prescription, or whatever the heck you call it." Yep, that's I don't know. Interesting though. We'll see what.
Oh yeah, I'm interested.
On with that.
I'm interested. It's a big topic these days, so we'll see.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, guys, welcome to topic 2. We're going to talk about kids' sports, and I know this is a sensitive one for Dwayne, so I'll let you take it off.
All right. So some stats we're talking about kids and sports. When I was a kid, I played t-ball. Yeah, and it wasn't like strenuous. It was like fun, and I went and I played t-ball in the summer, and I was on a team, and that was it. And we played at the same place, basically. And I didn't have to go 2 hours to play there. But let's talk about some stats about kids' sports. Annual estimates of more 21 to 35 million dollars are spent on kids' sports, youth sports. So 67% of boys and 47% of girls are on a team by the age of 6 now, according to ESPN, which I thought that was kind of crazy. The other thing that's interesting is, what's your odds of your kid going pro? I mean,
it's definitely 1-on-1. My kid's the best, right?
Yeah, I mean every parent's kid is the best, including mine. Yeah, it's crazy because you think about all the effort and all the BS that's put into the sidelines by even myself, arguing with a ref, or questioning a ref's call, or how you couldn't, you want me to get you a cane? You obviously can't see.
You want me to get you a cane you obviously can't see?
Yeah. One of the walking canes, like for a blind person, he couldn't see the play.
Oh, I was thinking, I think you're talking about walking, Dwayne.
No.
But,
Just let me handle this, if you would.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the
Go
odds
ahead.
for high school, odds for your kid to go from high school football player to pro, 1 in 6,000. The odds for baseball is 1 in 4,000, and basketball is 1 in 10,000, according to USA Today. That's crazy when you think about that. So you're putting a lot of effort into nothing.
Well, don't discourage kids, period, because if you did that, there would be no professional.
Oh, I get that,
athletes.
but I'm saying we put way too much into it.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Kids enjoy sports more without pressure. 37% wish no parents would watch them play, according to USA Today.
And 100% of your kids think that, Dwayne.
I agree. I know they do. They're like, man, I wish my dad would just get off the sideline and leave me alone. It's just crazy because when I was a kid, we played t-ball. We played it, in the same. Basically, I can think of 3 or 4 parks in the area that we played in, and it was within 10 minutes of my house. It wasn't like I drive for hours and hours to go play soccer, what I mean, or basketball or whatever. And I mean, I know just in my experience, I'm doing like all weekend tournaments in Cincinnati, which is a 2-hour drive away with, everybody, all the other kids on the soccer team's families, and we're at Embassy Suites for 2 nights, sometimes 3, depending on the tournament. And you think about it, it's just crazy to think that you're all the money spent.
Hey, look, let me pitch this to you here. Is that a kid's problem? Because hear me out.
Oh, I agree.
Is that a kid's problem or a parent problem? Because here's what I see it as: is if you ask anyone right now, whoever's listening to the podcast, ask anyone over 45, they had several sports leagues in their neighborhoods, just over hockey, basketball, soccer, baseball, baseball, that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's one of those things that is it a kid? I think that most of those were organized by kids too. It wasn't like an adult thing. It was like, I think nowadays adults want to just go see the sports and they think their kids are the best, so they want to put them in a club. They want to pay for this, that, and the other, and they don't realize that the kids just want to have fun. They don't care if they win the championship. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
The kid just goes to play to enjoy being on a team, enjoy being with their friends. And I think it's become more of an adult thing than it has a kid's thing anymore. I mean, I see adults put effort. I mean, any adult that drives 2 hours, personally, this is going straight to you, which I know you have put a lot of time and effort into this, is that I enjoy going to see my little sister's games, but driving 2 hours for a game is a little bit
especially when it's a 45-minute game.
And what is going to come of it? What is going to come of it? And then by the end of the week, they're just so pissed off because you drove them all the way there, and they're so tired and everything else.
Hey man, here's my rule. My hard fast rule is the day they want to quit is the day they quit. But if they made a commitment for the season, they're gonna stick the season out. But at the end of that season, when it's time to re-up, if they don't want to play, it's up to them. You've seen it. I've let, I don't force it on them because it causes me consternation too. I'm the guy who has to help out and drive, and I'm lucky to have the wife doing the majority of the legwork there. But you know what I mean? If it was just me, single dad, Dwayne, nah, kids be sitting on the couch playing video games all day while I hung out on Twitter.
And I think a big thing parents don't realize is there are other skills other than sports that are necessary, and there are other team sport or team not sports team activities that they can participate in that are different than sports. I don't think a lot of people. I think there's a big runaway from music anymore too. Is that where did band go? Where did orchestra go? Where did just letting your kid play in a little garage band in your garage go? That's a creativity. That's a free thing where they kind of design their own thing. That's a project coordinator kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? What skills are learning there versus being told by a coach?
Back to when I was a kid,
run through the cones.
Things. We didn't just do sports. We would go build a tree fort.
Exactly. Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying.
And that sort of stuff. But kids can't go 15 feet from their house anymore.
Yeah,
they get yelled at. Or you know what I mean? Everybody's worried that they're going to get kidnapped or
we go on.
Or whatever.
This is a wormhole here because then that goes back to 24-hour news. That goes back to what society has become. But in general, it is a thing of I think it's almost the kids are so. How much does a coach make anymore for Little League? You know what I'm saying? They're told by this person who basically lives off a salary of coaching 2 teams, this, that, and the other. They're not thinking for themselves anymore. They're thinking for whatever their coach says. Run through the cones, win the game, and you're successful. You know what I'm saying? They're not taught to be leaders. They're taught to be followers.
Right.
That's my personal aspect on it. Is whatever happened to the garage bands, whatever happened to the tree forts, whatever happened to, you know what I'm saying?
Right. It's a big money business. There's no doubt. I mean, you look at it, the amount of money paid to coaches for these. I can only speak for like soccer because that's what my kids are in. But I know that there are coaches, and I'm not speaking in particular to my league, but I just know that overall it's a big business. You know what I mean? And these coaches put a lot of time in. But man, you're right. They're now professional coaches. You know what I mean?
And they're coaching 10-year-old girls. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. That's my personal opinion on it. Is they're taught to be followers, not leaders anymore. And I think that there has been a big runaway from music and art and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying artists are I'm not a huge artist fan, but I'm saying
yes, you are.
There is no creativity. There is no kind of self-instruction anymore. It is when you get your kids into big sports like that, they don't think for themselves. That's my thing. That's my big thing on it, is teach them to be themselves. Don't teach them to be a follower. And I think when you get them in a big team and you get them in a big league, it becomes that. It becomes a following thing. And
you're speaking from experience, because tell me about your sports career, Chaz.
Well, when I played t-ball, my father was coach, and he made me play the outfield. And that was only once because I picked dandelions the entire time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand kids love sports, but it has become a big thing of adults love sports more than kids love sports. That's my. You
like dandelions?
I love dandelions. The other day, I actually a leader of a youth group here at our local church, and we were playing kickball, and I was telling everyone, "Look how cute these dandelions are." And I go, "Oh wait," yeah. I quickly backtrack to 4th grade when my dad was a coach. And
awesome. So, interestingly enough, 71%, according to USA Today, 71% of children say they wouldn't care if no score was kept of the game. So, kids aren't as concerned about winning as adults are. You know what I mean? And
that's what I'm saying. I think it has become an adult sport. Yep. That is my thing.
Yeah, it probably is. It is what it is. But you know what? It's cost me a lot of money. But you know what? Like I said, I see my kids who are doing it. They seem to enjoy it. They're smiling, whether they win or lose, which is really good. And the other thing is when you look at it, there's a lot of family bonding time in 2 hours in the car between games. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, they're in the back with their beats on, and I'm up there listening to talk radio. So I mean, a lot of family bonding going on.
A lot of fun. And going back to the smile on their faces is, I don't know what kids you're looking at, but when I look at your kids, they're always crying after they lose.
That's one of them. The other one's pretty happy.
They're pretty tough sports like you, but
we're competitive. Hey, what do you think of this Freak State?
You know what? It's actually pretty good. I don't,
it's not
like I
bad.
said when we started this, I don't like dark beers, but this is pretty good. This is something I could bring to a youth sports game.
Oh my gosh! And a Starbucks mug.
Starbucks mug. No. But no, it's pretty good. I enjoy
That's the
it.
way I get through all of them.
I like it.
All right, awesome. We want to crack the other one before we get into topic 3, or should we do it at the beginning of topic 3?
You know what? Let's take a quick break, rinse out our cups, and then we'll hop right into it.
Rinse out your cups. Oh, okay. Let's do that. Hey guys, while Chaz is rinsing out those cups, he can't hear me, but I thought I'd let you know he really sucked at sports. Dude, he picking dandelions, that was probably the best thing he ever did, because this guy was horrible at sports.
Hey guys, we're gonna crack our second beers open, but I'll be right back because our bottle opener is so far away.
Crack that open and let's get these fired up. So the final topic today is music media throughout time, or through the generations.
So you remember when the phonograph was invented, right, Dwayne? In 1877.
yeah.
That's about around. That was like your 16th
I think
birthday.
my
wasn't it?
neighbor Thomas Edison did that, didn't he? Where's my beer?
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Thank you. We're drinking a fine Lagunitas IPA here.
Okay, so this
Straight
is
up IPA.
probably my favorite standard IPA. Let's be honest. I like one of my close favorites is Punk IPA, but
Punk is pretty drinkable.
if I want just a good IPA, like Punk is a little dimmed down. I feel like if I want a good IPA, this is what my go-to.
All right, so let's
love
talk about music. So recollections. Let me think. I remember I said I grew up 10 years younger than my family, than my other siblings. So I saw all of the transition from. I guess the furthest I remember is 8-track. I remember 8-track decks in cars. So we had 8-track, then we went cassette, and of course vinyl was always there. And then we had, then obviously went to CD. But my first 2 cassette tapes I ever bought, probably, I think it was like around 14 years old. I bought Van Halen, 1984.
That's sweet. So got that one somewhere?
No, it was a cassette. Probably wore out by now. One of the decks ate it. And then the other one was Quiet Riot. Yes, Quiet Riot. I think the album title was Metal Health. And that was my first 2. My mom loved it too. I remember driving over with my mom, and she took me to this place called Buzzard's Nest Records, and that was actually a record store where you had to go to buy music. Chaz, you went to the specific store.
Well, you don't have to tell me
to buy music.
You know that those places are hot entities now. You know, I go to
Yeah,
that
but that's
one.
all retro and hipster. This was the real deal. And then she took us over there in our Horizon Miser. Yep, our Horizon Miser. And she took us over there, and then so we got into the Horizon Miser. We went over to the Buzzard's Nest, and I remember getting back in because if you've ever seen the cover art for 1984 Van Halen, it's an angel smoking a cigarette. And she took one look at it and just shook her head like, what is wrong with this kid? I have failed my entire... I have let my family down. No, at that point, I was a final kid, man. I got away with everything. So, but yeah, that was my first recollection. What about yours? What do you got? Remember doing anything like that? What'd you do?
I think my first CD I ever owned, it was my 10th birthday. This was a CD, so there was no... Well, wait. I got a recollection right here. Just came to me. I remember playing tapes, and you were always ahead of the times. Like, you always drove a nice car that had a CD player and stuff. Mom had cassette players in her car, and I remember having if I went to my grandma's house, I could make my own tapes.
Oh, like a dual cassette deck?
She had dual cassette decks, so I could play it and record the other one on the other one. And I remember doing this all the time. And so I had a sweet cassette thing, and she even had one with a CD player in it, so you could play the CDs, and then it would dump into the cassette, and I could record on the cassette.
God.
So I had like a cool cassette with Blink-182, and then
We called that music piracy back then.
and then Tim McGraw, and then I'm sorry,
Tim
I never
McGraw.
did this, but I heard of people who did it. Anyway, and then like
Good
it was
catalog.
Blink-182, and then Tim McGraw, and then like Metallica. But I remember the first CD I ever owned was and this could relate back to our first topic, is Jimi Hendrix, The Experience.
That was
Mom
the first
gave
CD?
to me for my 10th birthday,
Oh,
along
gosh,
with
that makes so much sense. It makes this is
Metallica, the Black Album.
oh, it's all coming back now. I understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah, you know, that's why I probably have better music taste than you. But
No, I don't know about that.
that's
No, you don't. Nice try though. Nice try.
but that's why I own 1984 on record, and you
Record?
don't own
What's
it
a
on
record?
anything.
You mean a vinyl?
A vinyl, man. But
Wow,
yeah,
man.
but you know, I went through a huge record
I
phase.
have 1984 on Spotify, man.
I remember when I got really into records recently. It was probably about 2 years ago. There's a place in Lancaster called Pulp Reality. You can go there, and there's a dirty old hippie who works behind the counter, and he knows me by name, and
Hey, man.
we talk about music nonstop. And he'll tell me all about how it all went down in the 60s and everything, and I just find it really interesting. And he has old crates and everything full of, you know, $2 vinyl, anything from $2 to $15, and it's fun. It's fun, but it's crazy how it's come. Like you said, you started out with what? Cassettes was your first thing?
No, for 8-track.
8-track. And then
I had Kiss. I remember it was 2 8-tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And it would actually switch in the middle of the song, because on an 8-track, if I'm not mistaken, it would roll through one side, going one direction, and then it would flip to the going backwards. Anyway, it would change the channel, or maybe it was just changing the channel, but I remember it would change the middle of the song, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing. You can't, like, do a break.
yeah.
I would change the middle of the song. So anyway, we had 8-tracks, we had cassettes, always had vinyl. 8-tracks, cassette, always vinyl. Then we went to CD, and then.
And what was your
it
first?
funny
What was your
because
first car with a CD deck?
I'll
in it?
never forget. CDs came out, and we were like, "Dude, CDs are the bomb because they're like indestructible. You can't screw them up, but you could."
Yeah. Oh yeah. You dropped them.
I
you
know,
left
but
them on
they
your-
always said, "Oh, they're like the indestructible meat." No, they
And
weren't.
well, they were to an extent. I mean, really. I mean,
Compared
they
to
were
an
pretty-
album, I suppose. But
I mean, compared to Spotify, but I mean,
hey, here's something that's funny. You'll think it. I don't know if you remember this. So I remember getting a Sony Walkman for cassette.
yeah,
You even know what that is?
yeah. I know what I'm talking. You clip it on your belt.
Yeah, but it holds a cassette and plays it, and sometimes they had AM/FM built into them. Well, then they made a Discman
Yeah.
for a CD,
Mm-hmm.
but you would walk with the CD and it would skip, because if it would bounce, it would skip.
Yeah.
So then they started buffering it to where they had a buffer built in where it would play, and then it would detect it skipped and play from the buffer. It was interesting, but it was just like the technology behind this. You know what I mean? We've made this great media, but you can't walk with it because
Yeah.
it skips. Wait, what are we going to do?
So my first question, first off, is what was your first car with a CD deck in it? Or did you install your own first CD deck?
Oh boy, man, that's a great question.
Because I remember you owned a 2003 Dodge Ram when I was a kid. I was probably in about fourth grade.
Had
when you
that
bought
little
that.
display on the front.
I
Like
remember
a race car
I remember
on
we went to Best Buy and you said, Chaz, which display do you like on the front? And it was a non-color. It was a like
Orange,
black.
wasn't it?
I'm almost thinking it was like black and like a slate blue display.
You might be right.
And you would see a rally car drive really fast for about 7 seconds, and then it would just restart over and over again. It was the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. But I remember you would click the button on it, and the front would flip down. And you could put an MP3 CD in there.
Yeah, well, actually, let me tell you, the first car I think I had, man, I think the first car I had that had a CD player in it, but it wasn't actually in the car, was my 1983 Toyota Celica, because I would take my Walkman, and you would get a cassette tape adapter, and you would put the cassette tape in the tape deck, plug, and it had a plug coming off of it, like a earphone jack plug. You would plug it into the Walkman, then you would put the Walkman on a bunch of towels on your passenger seat because it would skip. And you would drive around listening to your tunes, man. Because that was 83 Celica, but it was, by the time I had it, it was CD time, because I always had a crap car.
Okay, well, I remember my first car was a 1996 Toyota Camry, and I remember that had a CD deck in it.
Okay.
But
What was that? A 19 what?
96 Camry.
96, yeah.
But what I did was I would buy a cassette with the aux adapter, and I could connect my aux cord to it, or my phone.
Oh, you talk.
You know what I'm talking about? I connect my phone to it and play Spotify off it.
Yeah.
Well, I remember my first big media remembrance was you bought me a SanDisk for Christmas, a 4 gigabyte SanDisk MP3 player.
Oh, you wanted an iPod.
The anti-Apple father I had
But you got
bought me a
SanDisk.
SanDisk.
I've taken that from a book from I know from my parents because that's the way they were.
And we'll just clarify this right now is I have the biggest anti-Apple father who only uses an iPhone.
Yeah, that's all I ever
let's
use
just remember that. But
Yeah.
going off that, I remember having SanDisk, and it was cool because it played videos, and iPod had yet to do videos.
Oh yeah,
I thought that
SanDisk was
so cool.
well ahead of their time. Look where they're at now. Look where they're at now with that media.
Almost as far as Zune.
So then we got into the MP3 thing. Now here's what's kind of funny. You remember I had the MP3 deck back at the other house? So I had like a I don't think it was 500.
Was it the carousel? Is that what you're
No, I had the CD carousel. Of course, that would hold
That was
50
awesome.
CDs or whatever. But I had the MP3 deck where you would put a CD in it and it would rip it to the MP3, and I could do that for like, I don't know, 200 CDs, and then I could play them. But it was like a console MP3 player.
Well, I remember when you had a blue optical drive and a regular optical drive in your computer. I remember you could rip MP3s on
Yes.
the blue optical drive.
Yep.
You could make
You are a
MP3s. And
I
you
don't
would
even
print
remember
off.
that.
I remember you'd print off. You had these sheets.
Labels.
You'd have these sheets
CD
that had
labels.
CD labels on them, so you could
True.
you
True.
could print them off, peel them off, and I remember you had all your CDs organized with the names on them.
True.
And you had this huge flip book for your Dodge Ram because you had the MP3s.
That's right, I did.
I remember that.
Because it would play MP3s. I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
about that.
It was awesome, man.
Oh, I had like 1,000 songs in my Dodge Ram, and I was the coolest cat running around Reynoldsburg, Ohio.
So let's reminisce real quick about when you discovered Spotify.
Oh, Spotify is the greatest thing ever invented, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting how controversial
Before
it
we
is.
got there, though, we had Napster.
Napster, that's right.
Remember
Yeah.
Napster?
You download half a song and you download another half of a song. And then
Yeah,
you put them together.
That was the craziest thing you think about that. They were like, well, it's not piracy if you're not downloading the entire song. Or they couldn't track who that,
Yeah.
I guess. And you would download parts of the song from different.
You know, fun fact real quick is that guy who created Napster, and someone will comment on this and tell me what his name was, but he actually was in the big like promotion of Facebook, and he's the one who actually gave Mark Zuckerberg a lot of great ideas.
Sean Parker?
Sean Parker, exactly, yeah. He gave Mark Zuckerberg a lot of great ideas. So anyway, wrapping up, Spotify.
Yeah, it's the greatest platform ever. I mean, I know there's
awesome.
others out there, but I know Amazon's trying to give them a run for their money. But man, Spotify, I just love it. I love the format of it. I love how easy it is to use.
And it's a huge controversy between artists.
Let me give you, what's the controversy? Which is the best?
Okay, here's the thing. Explain to you. Between artists is Taylor Swift is like, oh, I don't get as much money as I used to.
Oh.
But then bands such as the Tillers, American Aquarium, you know, our small bands that we love are like, we love it because people can actually hear our music without us having to put out CDs, without us having to put out, you know, pay for Apple, pay for
Telling
iTunes.
me that it was funny because for you, I was listening to, but it was like the numbers were staggering. Like if you had a hit single, you might make $32,000 on that hit single just by the airtime plays back in the day, not CDs, just airtime plays on the radio. Now, like on Spotify, if that thing gets played 30 million times, you make $32. It's like not that much. It's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but some people love it and some people hate it, and it's because some people. Here's the thing: is remember when you had to pay for a song on iTunes? It was $1.29. It's like, do I really want to try out this artist that I've never heard of for $1.29, or do I just want to go to like Jay-Z, who I've heard a million times? I know his song's gonna be good.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas the other songs, you can listen to them for free because you have this monthly subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So you listen to them for basically free, and
You
discover all these crazy songs. And how many bands have you discovered from Spotify?
A lot. But good segue. Here's my issue with Spotify, and then we'll wrap this segment up. when you find a song you like, let's say I'm listening to a song, and then I click on, hey, make a radio station from this song. It makes a radio station from that song, and it might have like 10 artists in that radio station. It just keeps playing songs from those 10 artists. It doesn't like expand out. It's like the craziest thing. I hate it. It's horrible. I don't like that part of it. Other than that, it's all good. And, that's it. Hey, thanks for tuning in this week, guys. We appreciate you being here with us. If you got any questions for us, please feel free to reach out. We're on Twitter at podcast234. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on iTunes under podcasts on your iPhone. And you can also find us right here on Anchor. And we appreciate everything Anchor's done to allow us to launch this podcast. And please give us some content to throw back at you. We like drinking beer and we like hanging out with you. So thanks for being here.
All right, guys, thanks for listening to Podcast 234. Next week, we are going to be checking out some new topics, and we're going to be trying out a new beer that Team_Natty, Natty, from YouTube suggested to us. He's a great friend of mine. He does anything from shoe reviews to beer reviews. So we're going to be checking out a beer that he suggested to us, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.